Good evening. The Prime Minister's visit is actually currently ongoing. We are still in the midst of this official visit, which is taking place at the invitation of His Excellency Prime Minister Laksan. You're all aware of the broad program that the Prime Minister has, but very briefly, he arrived yesterday late evening from Melbourne, and in a very special gesture, Prime Minister Laksan received him at the airport, which was much appreciated by the Indian Prime Minister. For India, this is a very significant visit. It's the first prime ministerial visit after 40 years. The last time an Indian Prime Minister visited was in 1986. For us as an Indian Ocean country, this region is a very significant region. And New Zealand, we have always considered New Zealand to be a very significant power in this part of the world. However, the Prime Minister was very acknowledged that the recent dynamics in the relationship that we have observed over the last 2 years, the large part of this credit goes to Prime Minister Laksan, who I think since 2004, when he first met Prime Minister, has been working very hard to impart a new energy to this relationship. Today's morning program was devoted to work and taking the India-New Zealand relationship forward. The day began with a very traditional Maori welcome at the Government House, followed by a formal welcome. And then there were very intensive discussions between the two prime ministers who met, singly as well as with their delegation. Later on, there was an interaction with the Indian and New Zealand business community, followed by a very elaborate and lavish lunch, gala lunch, with all sorts of prominent people from Auckland present at the lunch. So it's been a very action-packed program so far, but let me talk to you a little about what was achieved to give you a flavor of it. The discussions between the two prime ministers basically sought to move the relationship forward. One of the most significant decisions that were taken, which you may have heard about already, I've been watching the news so far, is the decision by the two prime ministers to raise the relationship to a strategic partnership. They also decided that this goal of a more strategic relationship would be approached systematically, for which they decided that there would be a roadmap to take us forward for the next couple of years. This roadmap has been summarized, in fact, in a document which is being released along with the joint statement that the two prime ministers are issuing at the conclusion of their talks, which you would have also seen. The decision to elevate the bilateral relationship to a strategic partnership is, of course, that we are intensifying ties in all tracks of our relationship, but in particular in the defense and security field and in the at the political level. Broadly, what this means is that, say, if you take at the intensification at the political level, there is a general decision that our foreign ministers will now meet more regularly. There will be a more systematic interaction between the two foreign offices at the senior official level. They will be fed by more specialist dialogues at the operational levels. In fact, we are signing an MOU where the conversation on counterterrorism, violent extremism, and transnational crime discussions will start and will lead to practical activities at some future date. In the defense field, a lot of work has already started since 2005, when Prime Minister Laksan visited India and a memorandum of understanding on defense cooperation was signed. In this visit, under the umbrella of that MOU, there will be a maritime cooperation arrangement that is being signed, which will provide a kind of framework within which there will be more intensive cooperation in the maritime domain. But of course, it's also going to be intensive discussions on how to take the trade and economic relationship forward. The Prime Minister had an extensive interaction with the business community today, and in fact made several suggestions as to how to take the trade and economic relationship forward. But there are also areas like sports where we intend to move forward. New Zealand is a sporting giant. In fact, one of my colleagues told me that your per capita gold medal is probably the highest given compared to your population. India, as you know, is going to host the Commonwealth Games, and we also have aspirations to host the Olympics at some stage. The Prime Minister has a domestic agenda to raise our sporting culture. We have a scheme which is called Khelo India, but basically he feels that by partnering with New Zealand, there is much that we have to learn in sports medicine, in the way sports administration, and that will be a focus in our relationship. And of course, education. There is a significant number of Indian students here. In India, we have undertaken reforms in our legislation. So now foreign campuses are opening up their establishment in India. So this is another area that we will see further intensification going forward. Several agreements that move the needle forward were signed today. Certain announcements were made. I'm not going to list them all out because there are quite a few, but those have been released as part of the press information that we have released. Since time is short, I will stop here, and if there are any questions, I'll try and answer.
Okay. So we go first there. Yeah.
सर नमस्कार, मेरा नाम आरेंद्र है, मैं दूरदर्शन न्यूज़ दिल्ली से हूं। मेरा सवाल है सर, एफटीओ को लेकर क्या कोई टाइमलाइन कोई फिक्स करने की बात हुई है ताकि हम जल्दी से इसको लागू कर सकें? थैंक यू।
Okay. You can take one more, please. Here, question.
On the commitment for the 20 million US dollars of billion investment, very important. What is India's understanding of that? Is it a commitment to promote or a commitment to deliver that investment? And what penalties are there if New Zealand doesn't deliver on that?
So FTA का जहाँ सवाल है, FTA तो इनका ratification process शुरू हो गया है एक्चुअली, फर्स्ट रीडिंग हो चुकी है। इनके सिस्टम के मुताबिक आई थिंक 3 रीडिंग्स होती है पार्लियामेंट में, उसके बाद ही रैटिफिकेशन होगी। तो कमिटमेंट तो कोई मतलब ठोस कमिटमेंट तो नहीं है, लेकिन प्रोसेस को आगे बढ़ाना है बहुत जल्दी। प्राइम मिनिस्टर लक्सन ने ये भी हमारे प्रधानमंत्री को बताया था कि एक बाईपार्टिसन सपोर्ट है इस FTA के लिए, इसलिए वो चाहते हैं कि रैटिफिकेशन प्रोसेस जल्द से जल्द हो। For you, the question was, was there any commitment on the ratification of the FTA? My response was that there's no commitment of a set date, but the process of ratification has begun. We were told that there are 3 readings in Parliament, and one has already been completed, and there is hope that this readings will proceed fast and the process will be completed sooner rather than later. We were also told that there is a lot of support for this FTA, so we don't foresee any problem. Coming to your question on the 20 billion, so the Prime Minister in fact spoke about this extensively. It is that there will be facilitation of this, but the real point is And this is the point that the Prime Minister made to the business community, that there is a great opportunity opening up in India. We have a large market. We are undertaking significant structural reforms. This is not an invitation just to invest. It is an invitation for a long-term partnership with India. In fact, I'm paraphrasing what the Prime Minister had to tell. So it is really going to be facilitated. There is no specific, penalty that will follow, if that answers your question.
Lomas?
So my name is Lomas from INS News Agency. My question is, how significant is formation of joint working group on counter-terrorism between India and New Zealand?
Okay, please. No, record. Please also introduce yourself.
Yes, so my name is Gaurav. I am from Radio New Zealand. When Mr. Laksan went to India last year, PM Modi called him out and he said that his wish is that New Zealand should not be used for anti-India activities. And now we see this, and I think Mr. Modi also in his speech pointed this out, that there is a joint working group against organized crime and terrorism. So is this joint working group a response to how India sees that New Zealand has been used for anti-India activities, specifically the so-called Khalistan referendum that happened here in November 2024?
Well, India's position on terrorism and violent extremism is very well known. We will constantly remind the international community that this poses, and our partners, that this poses a significant threat to peace and security all over the world. We work with partners to tackle this scourge. The joint working group that we are establishing with New Zealand is just one of the many steps. But New Zealand and India are fairly like-minded and tough on this entire issue of on terrorism and violent extremism, and the need to ensure the closest collaboration to defeat this threat. We also know that there can be no double standard when you are tackling such a grave threat.
You have a question there?
Hello, sir. I'm Manju Meena from Akashvani. Sir, New Zealand is a global leader, we know, in a dairy and agriculture sector is very strong. So how does India see cooperation in these sectors while safeguarding the interest of the Indian farmers and agriculture sector?
Okay, yeah.
Dalipa Fonseca from Business Desk. I just wanted to clarify on the US $20 billion commitment to facilitate. How closely is India going to be monitoring that over the years? Is there an expectation that the investment flowing into India will get somewhere close to that number?
Well,
Okay.
If I can tackle the dairy question. So dairy, as you know, is a very sensitive sector in India. That's because of the unique structure of our agriculture sector. We don't have large commercial dairies. For us, we are a cooperative-based dairy. And this is a very important source of liquidity for a small and marginal farmer, and sometimes for people who work in the agriculture sector but who don't own land. However, having said that, New Zealand is an agro-tech giant. They have a very advanced, they've developed some very advanced technologies in the entire range of activities in the agriculture sector. And in fact, we are under the FTA. We are signing, we have this package of, which is the agricultural productivity arrangement, under which we explicitly will be cooperating on these agro-tech issues, which will eventually benefit our dairy industry and the development. After all, it is also the government of India's plan to commercialize and to raise farm income. So absorption of new technology is very important part of our agriculture policy. The second question was on the monitoring of 100 billion. So, as I told you, the Prime Minister made it very clear that this is a long-term partnership. My suspicion is that when the India-New Zealand FTA is ratified and starts getting implemented, the opportunities will be so attractive. India is a very attractive investment destination in the emerging market space. So I suspect that monitoring will not really be required. But of course, it is part of the understandings we arrived at while crafting the FTA. I hope that sufficiently answers the question.
Okay.
सर दो छोटी सी चीज़ें, एक तो ये इंडो पैसिफिक को लेकर कोई स्पेसिफिक बातचीत हुई, क्योंकि पीएम का 3 नेशन विजिट में इस पे तीनों में जगह फोकस नजर आया। दूसरा सर, एमओयू जो एक्सचेंज हुए हैं उसमें टूरिज्म भी है, तो क्या डायरेक्ट कनेक्टिविटी को लेकर कोई बातचीत आगे बढ़ी है? इस दिशा में कुछ हम काम कर रहे हैं? थैंक यू।
ये पूरी विजिट जो है ये रूल बेस्ड इंडो पैसिफिक ऑर्डर को स्ट्रेंथन, ये है सब टेक्स्ट इस पूरे विजिट का। One of the reasons we look at New Zealand as a significant partner in this part of the world is because of our joint quest for strengthening the rule-based order in the Indo-Pacific, which is very important for India as an Indian Ocean nation.
The other question.
Yeah, tourism के बारे में, so direct flight connectivity, tourism बिल्कुल एक सेक्टर है जिसमें हम फोकस करेंगे एज पार्ट ऑफ द अपग्रेडेशन ऑफ जनरल इकोनॉमिक रिलेशंस। लेकिन जहाँ डायरेक्ट फ्लाइट्स की बात है, फ्रेमवर्क अग्रीमेंट तो है, बट अल्टीमेटली ये तो एयरलाइंस पे ही डिपेंड करेगी। अभी के लिए तो कोई ठोस प्लान नहीं है, बट आगे जाके जब बिजनेस और रेवेन्यू मॉडल्स ठीक बन जाएंगे, आशा है कि हाँ डायरेक्ट फ्लाइट होंगे।
और इस दौरे के दौरान एक एमओयू भी साइन किया गया है पर्यटन क्षेत्र में दोनों देशों के बीच में साझेदारी बढ़ाने के लिए। तो हम लोग की ये अपेक्षा है कि आने वाले दिनों में पर्यटन के मामले में दोनों देश साथ मिलकर काम करेंगे और इससे दोनों देशों को बढ़ोतरी होगा। सॉरी, no, wait, we have a question here.
Why did Mr. Modi not give a press conference to New Zealand journalists here?
Should I answer?
We have a question. You have a question? Please, in the mic.
Yeah, sorry. Sir, after the announcement of FTA was made in December, in some political circles in New Zealand, there has been some fear expressed about, immigration increasing from India to New Zealand. And there were apprehensions that Indian government is promoting this FTA back home, like opening doors to New Zealand. What's your stand on this? How does the government of India see, or can you say something about allaying those fears?
Okay. So, your question has that quality of deja vu because it's not appropriate for me as a civil servant to question Mr. Modi's political method. He is a very successful politician. But let me give you some context. So Mr. Modi Prime Minister Modi is a quintessential Indian politician. By and large, Indian politicians favor direct, contact with their electorate. And you must remember that the Indian electorate are predominantly rural folk. They want direct contact. They don't like being spoken down to. They don't like being spoken to through intermediaries. And Mr. Modi has perfected the art of direct contact with his electorate, and he seems to be doing a rather good job of it since, he's been elected now. He's in his third term. He's one of the longest serving prime ministers in our country. Immigration. So in the issue of immigration, there is a lot of misunderstanding. The FTA is not an agreement for immigration. Immigration and mobility of skilled manpower are two different issues altogether. The commitments that were crafted in the FTA pertain to mobility of skilled manpower under the existing laws that New Zealand has. And the reason the idea of mobility was introduced in the FTA is because, as you know, we are an exporter of services. So the fact that that our skilled personnel of companies have visa issues or have problems in mobility sometimes acts as a de facto market barrier. So therefore, this time, it is in fact an innovation in the way we negotiate FTAs. The idea was to ensure that skilled manpower mobility was ensured. It has nothing to do with immigration, which is a completely different phenomenon of people moving and and permanently residing.
Yes,
I would
he
certainly
already
say that.
answered your question. So,
सर जैसे कि प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी यहाँ पे मातारी की फेस्टिवल पर आए हैं और जैसा कि उन्होंने बोला कि पिछले साल जब मिस्टर लक्सन वहाँ गए थे तब होली का पर्व था तो और जैसा कि बताया कि हम दोनों ही देशों के बीच में जो माओरी समुदाय है वो काफ़ी कुछ प्रकृति से जुड़ा हुआ है जो सतत विकास की उन्होंने बात कही है तो किस तरीके से सर ये जो एक साझी विरासत है या जो पीपल टू पीपल कॉन्टेक्ट की बात है उसको आगे बढ़ाने के बारे में किस तरीके से बातें हुई हैं सर?
Okay. We have two questions here. Okay. The last two questions, please ask all your questions in one go. We have a schedule to keep. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Hayley from Television New Zealand. You said that moving forward, the foreign ministers of both India and New Zealand will meet more frequently. Were you expecting to meet with New Zealand's foreign minister on this trip? And can you just summarise as well what your overall goal of coming to New Zealand was?
Overall. Please.
My name is Ravi. I work for Awaz. New Zealand has one of the highest rejection rates for visas from India. How does India view this? It's been so for the last 2 to 3 years. Is that a problem?
Visas.
Yes, the rejection of visas for Indians
is
one of the highest in New Zealand.
Okay.
So traditional medicine, right?
Traditional medicine and celebrating indigenous cultures.
So people to people connect relationship, it will be an important underpinning of the relationship. One of the areas that the Prime Minister did talk about was on promoting, he did mention this New Year festival and the similarities. But one of the things we are doing this time is that we are focusing on traditional medicine. As you know, the Prime Minister has always believed that traditional medicine in a public healthcare system is a very important preventive healthcare. Like in any public healthcare system, you have prevention activities as very important part. So collaboration between New Zealand's ancient Maori culture and India's own traditional medicine is a very exciting area of cooperation and very relevant to contemporary time. So this is certainly something that the Prime Minister himself is very interested in promoting, and it is also a very exciting area for developing the relationship forward. Is this visit's overall goal? Well, you know, India is an Indian Ocean country, so we are very attentive to what happens in adjoining maritime zones. The Pacific is a very important maritime zone for us, and we've always considered New Zealand to be a very important power in this region and a like-minded power. And in fact, to the credit of Prime Minister Lukson, he has been working very hard to impart this new energy to the relationship, which is now a strategic relationship. precisely because of this idea that as inhabitant of the Indian Ocean, and you as an inhabitant of the Pacific Ocean need to establish a close strategic relationship. And I think this is really the underpinning strategic or the grand idea behind us, apart from the fact that there is a significant economic dimension to this relationship. We are a large growing market. There is considerable opportunity. You are an advanced economy with advanced technology. We are always looking to forge partnerships with that. So we have a very good basis for building an exciting economic relationship. I would say largely it is that we are all working to adapt to a very rapidly changing world. And as neighbors, maritime neighbors, it's important that we both work together. On visas, the visa, this is actually a question you need to address to the New Zealand side. That's a sovereign decision in the sense that as long as our businesses can work, our students get to study, they get the exchanges as planned by the two sides are taking place. Visa decision and conferring visas is a sovereign decision that we can't really comment upon in this juncture.
Okay.
From the Indian government's point of view, do you see that as a problem?
It's a loss of opportunity for the speed at which we can build up the relationship. But again, as I said, it's a sovereign decision, and we have to go by that sovereign decision.
Mm-hmm. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the close of this press briefing. Thank you very much for your presence. Thank you.
तो MEA की ये प्रेस ब्रीफिंग आप सुन रहे थे। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी की न्यूजीलैंड यात्रा को लेकर के MEA की तरफ से ये प्रेस ब्रीफिंग की गई और विस्तार के साथ बताया गया कि किस तरह से प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जब न्यूजीलैंड की धरती पर पहुंचे तो प्रधानमंत्री का किस तरह से भव्यता के साथ स्वागत किया गया पारंपरिक अंदाज में। इसके साथ साथ भारत के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी और न्यूजीलैंड के प्रधानमंत्री जब दोनों के मध्य द्विपक्षीय वार्ता हुई तो कई महत्वपूर्ण MOU पर समझौते हुए हैं। समझौता ज्ञापनों